So one of the biggest myths behind ankle sprains is that you need to rest that ankle. You'll often see in sports and other things like that, people will put the ankle in a boot or some kind of protective device and things like that. Honestly, that's the worst possible thing you can do for an ankle sprain. The evidence really doesn't support that. We get better so much faster if we can keep it moving. We keep the fluid out of it so it doesn't swell up, and we stay a lot healthier and we get back to doing the things we love to sooner. And the risk of re-injury or injuring it even further is actually really, really minimal. So we don't recommend that you keep necessarily doing high-risk activities for spraining it more, but staying active and keeping moving. So like in a football or soccer game, if you sprain your ankle, it's probably not a good idea to keep playing that day, but to keep moving on the sideline the entire rest of the day, where you keep walking, keep even running or jogging, is really a good idea. The more you can keep it moving, the more you flush the fluid out of it and keep it from swelling up. And that's what we don't want. So if you have a minor tear of those ligaments and then it swells up, it distends that. And as it heals, it can't knit back down the way we want it to. The more you can keep the fluid out of there long term, the more it can heal the way we want, the less it will form scar tissue. And the more the scar tissue that does form, because it will have to form some to plug that gap to heal that tear, the scar tissue forms the way we want it to in fibers that are more linear and extensible instead of kind of a patchwork, if we can make sure that we keep the fluid out and we keep it moving so it's applying some load to that in the way that we want it to. And so you have to be really careful to not rest that ankle too much, or you're actually going to set back your timeline of recovery. It's going to heal weaker, and it's really not going to recover very well. So resting it, crutches, a boot, all those types of things really are myths. You really don't want to do that, even though a lot of the time if you go to the emergency department or you go into your primary care practitioner, they're going to do that because it's all about minimizing your pain. Because if you protect it like that, yes, you will have less pain. But the problem is you've now prolonged your recovery, and you're going to have more pain overall because recovering from that is going to take much, much longer. And so you have to be careful with that. Kind of the other myth is that you're not able to participate in sport or activity for a while. And that really isn't true. You can keep doing some things right away. And we often find that within a week or two, if you take this active recovery approach, that you can be back to playing your sport much, much quicker than if you put it in a boot or things like that. They say for every week in a boot, you should plan on at least a month of recovery. And so really, it's going to take you out for much, much longer, the longer you're in a boot, because everything gets weaker. You know, things like ice, ibuprofen, some of those common things often are not a good idea other than very acutely for pain management, but sometimes can slow down the healing process if you do it too much. So just be careful how you use anti-inflammatories or other things like that. You want to use more of an active movement approach for managing and some compression for managing that instead of rest it and take a bunch of anti-inflammatories and things like that. So hopefully that's helpful in understanding where those myths are and being able to get back to moving and doing the things you love again a lot faster.